Welcome to Intentionality with Paul Kempf, the podcast and YouTube channel where we explore the possibilities and opportunities that can be created with a more intentional life. Please subscribe, please follow, please share on social media. Let's get this message out there so that we can reach more people and impact more lives. This is episode 26, and we are continuing with our exploration of FFG, and more importantly, the amazing people that work for FFG. Last week, I told you about the different branches we have in FFG, the different business units we have in FFG. Today, I want to focus on one of those branches, and that's our business in Mauritius. Now, we are fortunate enough to already have 3 different businesses in Mauritius, but everything didn't go as smoothly as we expected initially. We decided to expand to the island of Mauritius in 2019, towards the end of 2019. Now, let's be honest about it, not the greatest timing, because what happened in the beginning of 2020? COVID broke out, and the island of Mauritius was effectively closed, not only for tourists and travelers, but to a certain extent for business as well. So it was a pretty tough time to keep the business going for that first year or two because of COVID. But today, we can look back on roughly 5 years of doing business in Mauritius. And I can tell you it was a great decision to expand the FFG group of companies to Mauritius. And today, to tell us more about that, we are incredibly fortunate to have as a guest for an interview from one of our companies in Mauritius, a guy who's here coincidentally, because he's actually living in Mauritius now. On the day that we're recording, he's in Pretoria, he's available, and he's joined me here today. So a very warm welcome to my 8th guest on Intentionality with Paul Kempf, and my 4th guest from FFG. All the way from Mauritius, Michael Bell. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks for having me, Paul. It's good to be in SA and good to be on the couch.
Great to have you here. All right, Michael, you are one of the directors of one of our subsidiary companies in Mauritius called FFG Global. And you can tell us a lot more about FFG Global in a moment. But first, you have the privilege of working and living on an island every single day. And I'm sure most of our listeners and viewers are now incredibly jealous of us. So just share with us a little bit about your working and living arrangements on Mauritius and how this came to pass.
Well, Paul, work's still work. So your office is still a white painted walls. You've got a desk, you're looking at Outlook and Excel most of the day. But your anything outside of that is absolutely paradise. Office is 900 meters from my house. I live about 300 meters from the beach. Lunchtime, you can quickly pop down for a swim. I do that occasionally. Saturdays, Sundays are spent hiking, kayaking, on the sea, next to the sea. We go paddle boarding. It's like the brochures. It really, really is amazing.
So it's not a cliche. It's paradise. It
really is paradise.
Wow.
It's slightly overcast. We don't go to the beach because you do it so much. It's crazy. For someone that grew up obviously in Gauteng, to not go to the beach even if you have the slightest opportunity seems a bit cheeky.
Okay, but how did this come to pass? How did you find yourself working for FFG in Mauritius? Tell us a little bit about that journey and that story. The FFG journey first and then the Mauritius journey.
That's quite a funny story actually. So I was busy with my undergraduate degree, and due to some social obligations, I had to extend the degree by 1 year.
It's a good way of describing it. Yeah.
That's how I tried to sell it to my parents. It didn't go down as well back then. So I had an additional year in Potch with a lot less academic responsibility, having only one module.
Yeah.
So my pals actually got introduced to FFG by a guy called Peter Hubert, who works for the Potch office, and started working there for the Northwest Wealth Department, and was there for a year. And then my paths crossed with Herman. I remember Antoinette phoned me. I was still an intern sitting at the bottom on the ground floor, and Antoinette phoned me and said, Herman wants to speak to you now.
This is now Antoinette Herman's PA.
Herman's PA, yes. Just before she became operations manager.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And she said, Herman wants to speak to you now. But she was just in a hurry. But to my mind at that stage, being very new at the company, she sounded upset. Which I'm sure she wasn't. Looking back, she put the phone down again. I mean, I sprinted up those stairs. Arrived at his.
Can we just tell everybody, if Herman says he wants to see you, you leave everything and you jump in there.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
No, absolutely. But I mean, especially that back then, you used to very junior as well. Yeah, absolutely. And so I arrived at I knocked on his door, and he said, "Come in. I'm still out of breath." And he said, I think his wording was, how mobile are you? Like, how quickly can you move? Like, what's your attachment to Poch? I mean, I was single, 21, 22. I was like, no, everything. I thought that I'd heard that maybe a position opening in Paul, what I was thinking, or maybe George, hoping for move closer to the sea. So I was quite cheekily said, no, everything I own will fit in my boot. I can move tomorrow. Like trying to tease back. And he said, good. I want to send you to Mauritius. What do you think about it? I said, yeah, it's good. Let's go. So it wasn't a very long conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously found out the details a bit later, but that's how the offer came about. Yeah.
That's an amazing story. I love it. Yeah. Really awesome. Michael, before we delve into exactly what FFG Global does, I want to first find out more about you. We've been working together for a while now, but we haven't spent a lot of time together. So I'd also like to get to know you better, but I also want our listeners and viewers to get to know you better. So here's my question to you. What is it that you are passionate about in life? What is it that makes you get up in the morning, that puts a smile on your face, except the fact that you live in Mauritius?
That's a question that I've always find difficult to answer. I mean, I think you get your guys that are really into cars or really into a specific hobby. I know there's some big golfers in the room. And
yes, absolutely.
For me, I think it's people. I get energized by people. Spending time with people, hearing their stories. That's why I think a large portion of my role client-facing. So I find I enjoy my job a lot, and that leads to more social interactions outside of work as well. The people I meet, the people I associate with, it leads to doing different things over weekends, especially where I live. I mean, we get to go out on boats often. We go kayaking, we go to snorkeling a lot. There's uninhabited islands, tiny little islands around Mauritius, and get to spend the day there quite frequently. So I think that just living generally, I mean, I find quite a lot of fun at this stage. I couldn't say there's one particular thing that makes me tick. I'm a fairly optimistic person, I would say. So spending time with people keeps me going.
Great. I love that. And at the risk of repeating it often enough, you don't need anything else to be passionate about. You live in Mauritius. Let's be honest about it. All right, let's get back to FFG Global. FFG Global is not the only company we have in Mauritius. The FFG Group has actually got 3 companies there. And I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about what's happening in these companies in Mauritius. What is it you do every day? What is that that FFG does in Mauritius every day?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So FFG Mauritius, as you said, was founded at the end of 2019. They've been going for 5 years now, and picking up some really nice momentum, especially in the last 18 months. I think the uptake's been good, and the last 6 months have been particularly good. They are corporate administrators and professional trustees. So when we think administration in South African context, it differs a little bit in Mauritius. They set up and administer corporate structures. So that will be companies, trusts. As soon as you're interacting with the financial world outside of the borders of South Africa, looking from a South African perspective, a lot of those transactions are difficult to do from within the borders of the Republic due to factors like exchange control, very difficult. It's a complex tax environment in South Africa as well. Whereas if you set up structures in Mauritius, some of these transactions can be done a lot easier from offshore, which is often the driver. Contrary to a lot of people think it's just tax is just the main driver, which is not actually true. It's the ease of doing business of the jurisdiction, and the fact that there's no exchange control, for instance. So that made it very, very popular for people across Southern Africa, not just South Africa, both investing into Africa and investing out of Africa into the rest of the world. So FFG Mauritius sets up and administers these corporate structures. So they serve as you need resident directors of some of the companies, obviously, to be established in that country. And we provide registered office services. We provide the banking solutions. They also do all the anti-money laundering compliance. Mauritius is very, very well-regulated financial services. So, I mean, we see it now with South Africa. What happened with the grey listing happened to Mauritius a couple of years back. And in record time, they implemented the recommended changes to get off that grey listing, to be seen as a whitelisted jurisdiction again.
They were very intentional about getting out of that.
Very intentional about doing that, absolutely. And I mean, there's teams that are heading over to train the South African regulators to actually encourage them to implement similar systems, and unfortunately more compliance for South African business owners, which is a debate in itself. But that's what FFG Mauritius does.
Yes. Okay.
In a nutshell. What my role has been at the start definitely was the business development, being South African, speaking both English and Afrikaans, doing business development in the South Africa and the neighboring countries. Became quite natural, dealing with the products a lot. And when I was training for the role, so it was easy to explain this to the clients, set up the structures, help with a bit of the designing, sourcing some tax opinions, transfer pricing, the like. That's sort of where it started, and the role grew from there. So it wasn't a clear cut when we went there. This is the time. I mean, Adman and I had a lot of meetings about that. It wasn't a clear cut. This is the exact vision for the company. It was, we're going to explore the opportunities that there are on the island. So I was encouraged to say yes a lot, which I think is interesting, and we can discuss that a bit later too. But so yes, say yes to strange meetings. You hear a lot of interesting and a little bit of weird ideas that guys have for business. Or sure, listen to all the ideas, met a lot of people, and we've identified like 5 or 6 key areas that FFG Global is going to be focusing on this year. Or has been focusing on, at least for the first quarter as well.
Okay, so obviously a good holiday destination. We all know that about Mauritius. You've touched on the tax. You've touched on the exchange control. Anything else? Any other reasons why people would want to do business in Mauritius?
On the personal side, I would like to add to that list that Paul mentioned there is your real estate sector is absolutely booming, obviously. Real estate, people say real estate is location. I think it's about supply and demand. I'm an economist at heart. And obviously being an island, supply is limited. And the demand is massive because of the stability of the country. So Mauritius is, you said, why do you want to do business there? And Mauritius is politically so stable that both criminally and on financial crimes, everything, it's very, very low risk jurisdiction to business in. So that a lot of people have a second option. I mean, there's been a lot of unrest in France, the Middle East, Eastern Europe. It's been a difficult year, the last 18 months actually, for a lot of regions in the world, and the high net worth individuals that can make a plan are making a plan, and a lot of them are choosing Mauritius as a second destination, which are driving property prices up. And we speculate that it will probably continue happening into the future, and that's been a good driver for us as well in terms of meeting new people and new clients, because these type of individuals bring a whole host of other opportunities along as they come with. They bring their businesses, they bring new ideas, they're usually quite enterprising individuals due to the things they have achieved in life, from a financial point of view. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier it benefits that you can speak Afrikaans and English. I would have thought it's benefiting you to speak French in Mauritius. How's that going?
Not as well as I'd hoped, Paul. It's not an easy language. If you gossip about me slowly, I might pick it up. That's where I'm at now. I can order food and put in fuel in French.
Okay.
And then I've managed to learn 2 pickup lines as well.
Okay.
Which
that's always
they work better in South Africa than in France.
But it's a work in progress.
Absolutely.
But the point is, you don't need French to be able to live and do business on Mauritius. Am I right?
Not at all. No, not at all. Most Mauritians speak English. Not at the proficiency level isn't as high as South Africa, but it's more than possible it's more than possible. You can communicate easily. And as soon as you enter the professional setting, everyone speaks fluent English. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Michael, tell me a little bit about your dreams for the next year, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, both professionally and personally. By the way, are you planning to be in Mauritius permanently? Are you coming back to South Africa at all?
Well, I'll also start with the last question. Is probably the hardest. I'll start there. I've been asked that a lot the last while, and I can't say I'm 100% sure, but the plan is not to come back permanently. There's a lot of good things about the country. I love the country. I come here often. Amazing friends. My family are all here still. But for me, I would like to have a family of my own one day. And there are some concerns for me long term, especially surrounding education and I'm a bit of an over planner, but I think it's good for my career though, but sometimes not so good in personal life. But I think long term, being somewhere where you can earn an offshore currency enables you to have access to those international facilities. I think it just gives your children more of an option than I think a lot of South Africans are going to have, especially 15 or 20 years from now. Could be wrong, could change, could all change for the better. Then I would definitely consider a city like Cape Town or George even is amazing to live. So that's still very open. But at the moment, I'm extremely happy in Mauritius, and I think it would always be, to some degree, I would like to spend some portion of my time there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, you are in South Africa, obviously for a reason. You're here to visit family, you're here to visit friends, but there's other strategic partnerships and things that you are doing here in South Africa. Can you tell us something about that?
Yes, no, absolutely. I can tell you more about what we're doing here. So we deal with a number of agencies on the island, and we're actually on a roadshow now. I'm with one of the agencies going around. Not traditionally, these trips or roadshows that the Mauritian government does and that the businesses do just focus on the main cities. And we've gone a little bit deeper, saying there's large portions of South Africa where there's wealth concentration, where there are people looking for these opportunities that have the intention of actually expanding offshore, but they just don't have access to those. They don't get those meetings. They don't meet the people that they trust and feel comfortable dealing with. So we've actually done a few of the smaller towns on this roadshow. So we've gone to Nelspruit, we've gone to Potch, going to Paarl. We're going to do the Garden Route as well, all the way up to PE from Mossel Bay. So I think that's something that's quite exciting. It's always fun to do business in Afrikaans. I studied at Potch as well, so I think that there's a different side to that I enjoy as well. So that's fun. That's what we're busy with, and we're also joining the Mauritian government, the Economic Board of Development, which is like the promotional arm for investing in the country, are doing a roadshow as well. So we're joining them on the major cities as well. So we'll be joining them in Joburg and Cape Town next week.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It sounds very busy. I hope you get time to visit your friends and family.
Yes, I see them in the late evenings, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, I do see them.
Michael, of course, the name of this podcast is Intentionality with Paul Kempf.
Yeah.
And I always ask my guests, is there anything that you can share with the listeners and with the viewers about things that you do in your life, or let me put it differently, where being more intentional about any aspect of your life has helped you to be more successful?
Yes, I think there's two things. So the first one was COVID caught me at an interesting life phase. I don't say it was bad or good. It was an interesting time. Got to spend a lot of time with family, and before I ended up, the year following that, the Mauritius option came across my table. So it was a good time with family. But I made a decision there that I want my environment to be a product of me and not vice versa. That obviously puts a lot of responsibility on you to be someone that creates a good environment. So that was one thing that I took into that year at university. I like to think, at least. So my final year at university, I think that created a few social obligations that led to the academic mishap. But it was a very good year, and I think I took that into my working environment as well, trying to, wherever I went to try and affect the mood, for lack of a better word, and to try and make that environment a better place because you are there.
Yeah. Okay. And in the same vein, just my last question, is there anything you do on a daily basis, or maybe weekly or monthly, or even monthly, that you can tell us that helps you to live a more intentional life?
Yes. So one thing, they call it the expat rule. So it's when I first moved to Mauritius, or when I was preparing for the role at least, something I came across a lot of. I read up quite a bit, watched a lot of videos and stuff, especially on Mauritius, but in general as well. One thing everyone said to me is, for the first 3 months, you don't say no. So you get invited somewhere, you don't really like the people, you might think they're a bit odd, or you're just not comfortable. Just go, do it. Every single thing you get invited to, and it's quite funny how they build up. So the reason you're at this event is because you went to the previous one, or you went to one 2 weeks ago, and it just leads to a good network. And in our line of business, obviously being client facing and working in the private wealth space, it was great for both as well. So that's something I've obviously, you tone it down a little bit because you do need to work and sleep. You can't just have fun the whole time. But that mentality, I think, helped me a lot. So I would always look at the opportunity, not necessarily always saying no, but going into putting myself in more situations where you meet more people, both social and business-wise. Yeah.
So don't say no.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to tell you an interesting story. 2 episodes ago, we had Herman joining us for an interview. And when I asked him for the tip of the week, he said, say no more. Yeah. And I think the important distinction here is your phase of life.
Absolutely.
I think there's a slight difference in the phase of life that you and Herman are in. Is that
I think he's about 5 years older than me.
Yeah. No, clearly. Look, I hesitate in asking this because for me, that felt like the tip of the week. That felt like something really good that we can leave our listeners with. Any other tips of the week that you want to share?
Nothing that jumps at me now.
Okay, fantastic. Michael, that was awesome. It was really great to have you here. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time with me today here on the couch. I know how busy you are on these trips to South Africa, but it is really, really great to have you here and learn more about you and about what FFG is doing in Mauritius. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. It was really good to sit here.
Right, that's it for today. Thank you to my production team for all their hard work behind the scenes. If you want to get hold of me, please send an email to paul@iwpk.co.za. That's paul@iwpk.co.za. If you need to get hold of Michael to ask him anything about Mauritius or FFG Global, we'll just post some contact details on all the platforms. And that's it. Last thing, congratulate yourself on making the choice to live a more intentional life, on being the architect of your own life and your own success. And may the rest of your week be an amazing, intentional journey. Thank you.